in its entirety. But there will be no more gloom for her who was in anguish. In early times, he treated the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali with contempt, but later on he shall make it glorious by the way of the sea on the other side of the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people who walk in darkness will see a great light. Those who live in a dark land, the light will shine on them. You shall multiply the nation, you shall increase their gladness. They will be glad in your presence, as with the gladness of harvest, as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. For you shall break the yoke of their burden, and the staff on their shoulders, the rod of their oppressors, as at the battle of Midian. For every boot of the booted warrior in the battle tumult and cloak rolled in blood will be for burning, fuel for the fire. For a child will be born to us, a son will be given to us, and the government will rest on his shoulders. And his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace. There will be no end to the government to the there will be no end to the increase of his government or of peace on the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and righteousness from then on and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will accomplish this. The Lord sends a message against Jacob, and it falls on Israel, and all the people know it. That is Ephraim and the inhabitants of Samaria, asserting in pride and in arrogance of heart. The bricks have fallen down, but we rebuild with smooth stones. The sycamores have been cut down, but we will replace them with cedars. Therefore, the Lord races against them adversaries from Risen and spurs their enemies on. The Arameans on the east and the Philistines on the west, and they devour Israel with gaping jaws. In spite of all this, his anger does not turn away, and his hand still stretched out. Yet the people do not turn back to him who struck them, nor do they seek the Lord of hosts. So the Lord cuts off head and tail from Israel, both palm branch and bulrush, in a single day. The head is the elder and the honorable man. The prophet who teaches falsehood is the tail. For those who guide his people are leading them astray, and for those who are guided by them are brought to confusion. Therefore, the Lord does not take pleasure in their young men, nor does he have pity on their orphans or their widows. For every one of them is godless and an evildoer, and every mouth is speaking foolishness. In spite of all, his anger does not turn away, and his hand is still stretched out. For wickedness burns like a fire, it consumes briars and thorns, and even sets the thickets of the forest aflame, and they roll upward in a column of smoke. But the fury of the Lord of hosts, the land is burned up. Or, sorry, by the fury of the Lord of hosts, the land is burned up, and the people are like fuel for the fire. No man spares his brother. They slice off what is on the right hand, but still are hungry, and they eat what is on the left hand, but they are not satisfied. Each of them eats the flesh of his own arm. Manasseh devours Ephraim, and Ephraim Manasseh, and together they are against Judah. In spite of all this, his anger does not turn away, and his hand still is stretched out. Um, so I've read that was all of Isaiah 9. Um, but what I want to focus on now is verses 6 um, and 7. For a child will be born to us, a son will be given to us, and the government will rest on his shoulders, and his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace. There will be no end to the increase of his government or of peace on the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and righteousness from then on and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will accomplish this. This is one of the prophecies of Christ's birth, and and of course we know um, that the birth of Christ is celebrated in a couple of days, um, but his actual birthday is not actually in December. It's actually probably late August through September. But, and I was speaking with this with my pastor uh, back on Sunday. But if you go 9 months prior to September, the month of December falls. So I'm one to believe that life begins at conception. So historically, if the birth of Christ is in September or late August, then that would mean he was conceived in December. Um, so to me, uh, celebrating Christmas is not so much celebrating the birth of Christ, but to me, it's a celebration of his conception because that's when his life as a man began. The moment that the Holy Spirit uh, con- conceived Jesus in Mary's womb. Um, so our life, our salvation, still began in December. It just began in the womb of Mary in December. Um, because I got to, you know, I watched the video. I was talking about, the Bible gives us signs on when was born, even though it doesn't give us an exact date or month. But by the seasons uh, of the Jewish community of the time, of their festivals, and when you look back on how they um, lived, and the activities of the shepherds also was a clue. It does point to Christ being born late August, early September during harvest season. Mm, and so, yeah, so I counted 9 months back, and lo and behold, 9 months from then is December. So, I know there's probably gonna be a lot of people who don't agree with me on this, but to me, I like to think of Christmas as celebrating the actual conception of Christ when God actually put His holy word into Mary's womb to become flesh. Just something to think about. Anyways, I love you guys. You have a blessed day, and we'll see you tomorrow.